Imagine a world where the line between genius and madness is blurred, where innovation is met with both awe and skepticism. What happens when the mastermind behind one of the most revolutionary companies in history is challenged by someone who doubts his vision? What if that challenge sparks a response so powerful, so brutal, that it leaves the world stunned? Welcome to the story of Elon Musk, the man who has captivated the globe with his electric cars and space ambitions, and the moment he faced off against a critic who dared to question his legacy. In the heart of Silicon Valley, where tech giants rise and fall with the speed of a tweet, Elon Musk has been the king of innovation. His name is synonymous with Tesla, SpaceX, and a relentless pursuit of making humanity a multiplanetary species. But with great power comes great scrutiny. Critics have always been lurking in the shadows, waiting for a misstep, a weakness to exploit. And one such critic, known only by his pseudonym Tesla Takedown, had been making waves online with his scathing reviews and conspiracy theories about Elon Musk's companies. This wasn't just any critic. Tesla Takedown had built a following by claiming that Tesla's electric cars were overhyped, that they were more about style than substance, and that Elon Musk was nothing more than a charismatic salesman. His words stung, not just because they questioned Elon Musk's vision, but because they resonated with a segment of the public who felt left behind by the tech revolution. They felt that companies like Tesla were elitist, catering only to the wealthy, while ignoring the needs of the common man. But what Tesla Takedown didn't realize was that his words had reached a boiling point. Elon Musk, known for his active presence on social media, had been watching. He had been waiting, and he had a plan. A plan that would not only silence Tesla Takedown, but would also send a powerful message to the world about the true cost of misinformation and the power of standing up for what you believe in. As the stage was set for this epic showdown, the world held its breath. Would Elon Musk's response be a simple tweet storm, or would it be something more? Something that would change the narrative forever? The anticipation was palpable, the stakes were high, and the outcome was far from certain. But one thing was clear. This was going to be a battle for the ages, a clash of titans that would leave only one man standing. In this story, we'll delve into the world of tech giants and social media influencers, where the line between truth and fiction is constantly blurred. We'll explore the motivations behind Tesla Takedown's crusade against Elon Musk and the impact his words had on the public. And we'll witness the moment when Elon Musk decided to take a stand, not just for himself, but for the thousands of employees and fans who believed in his vision. This is a tale of justice, of standing up against those who seek to tear others down. It's a story about the power of resilience and the importance of defending one's beliefs, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. So, let's embark on this journey, a journey that will take us to the heart of Silicon Valley, to the core of what drives innovation and progress, and to the moment when Elon Musk delivered a comeback so brutal, so unexpected, that it left the world speechless. The backlash began quietly at first, a murmur of discontent among those who'd once championed Tesla as a beacon of progress. Owners who'd proudly driven their electric cars to climate rallies now found themselves side-eyeing the gleaming T on their steering wheels, their pride curdling into something sharper. Because while Elon Musk had spent years building an empire on the promise of a cleaner, brighter future, his recent choices felt like a betrayal to the very people who'd helped him rise. This wasn't just about cars anymore, it was about power and who got to wield it. Tesla Takedown, the anonymous critic who'd built a following by dismantling Musk's claims of ethical innovation, had become a rallying cry for this simmering rage. His videos went viral not because they exposed faulty batteries or software glitches, though there were plenty, but because they struck a nerve deeper than any product review. Elon doesn't care about saving the planet, he declared in one broadcast, his voice crackling with disdain. He cares about saving his ego, and he'll burn down anything, anyone, to do it. The comments section flooded with stories. A single mother who'd maxed her savings on a Model 3, only to watch Musk slash subsidies for low-income buyers. an engineer laid off after Musk's efficiency purge at the Department of Government Efficiency, a climate activist who now hid their Tesla emblem with duct tape, ashamed to be seen endorsing a man cozying up to extremists. But Musk's true misstep wasn't the Nazi salute at Mar-a-Lago, nor the retweets denying Hitler's atrocities, though those lit the fuse. It was his utter dismissal of the fallout. While Tesla's stock cratered 35% and protesters swarmed dealerships with signs reading, "Sell your swastika," Musk doubled down, mocking critics on X as snowflakes allergic to free speech. His arrogance calcified into something darker, more reckless. At a private GOP fundraiser, leaked audio caught him laughing about cleansing the government payroll through Doge, his tone dripping with the same casual cruelty as his online jabs. The power dynamic tilted like a sinking ship. Here was a man who'd once convinced the world he'd democratize green energy, now openly scheming with politicians to gut social safety nets. Here was a CEO who'd built cult-like loyalty, now alienating his base with every tweet, every smirk. Former devotees became accidental activists, slapping, "I bought this before Elon went crazy" stickers on their cars, their disillusionment a public spectacle. Meanwhile, Tesla takedown's following ballooned into a grassroots army. Teachers, nurses, retirees who'd never owned a Tesla, but recognized the sting of being gaslit by someone who claimed to be a savior. The injustice wasn't merely Musk's ideology, it was the hypocrisy. The same man who'd accepted billions in government loans now gutted federal agencies. The innovator who'd promised to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy prioritized stock buybacks over fixing faulty chargers, leaving stranded drivers to fend for themselves. And when a Cybertruck plowed through a protesters' barricade outside a scorched Tesla dealership in Las Vegas, Musk's response wasn't concern for the injured, but a meme comparing the vehicle to a zombie apocalypse tank. Yet beneath the outrage simmered a raw, almost primal relatability. Haven't we all been betrayed by someone we trusted? A boss who took credit for our labor, a leader who promised change, then spat in our faces. Musk's story had become a funhouse mirror for societal fractures, wealth gaps widening, corporations dictating policy, truth itself commodified. Every swastika graffitied on a Tesla, every arson attack on a dealership was a scream into the void. You said we mattered, you lied, and through it all, Tesla takedown kept pressing, his critiques cutting deeper. Elon's not a genius, he's a gambler, he seethed in a live stream watched by millions. And he's betting your future on his ego. Ask the 5,000 families who lost healthcare when he gutted Doge. Ask the engineers who built his rockets only to get replaced by yes men. The numbers backed him up. Tesla's European sales halved. Resale values tanked. Even Musk's allies began to squirm. Republican senators quietly urging Trump to distance himself as polls showed 53% of Americans viewed Musk unfavorably. 5. But Musk didn't bend. He amplified. Days after the Wales Beach protest, where activists used a Tesla itself to carve "Don't Buy" into the sand, he reposted a meme comparing protesters to orcs storming Helm's Deep. The message was clear. He'd cast himself as the hero of this story, the misunderstood visionary under siege. What he failed to grasp was that the world had stopped rooting for him. The curtain had been pulled back, revealing not a Tony Stark-esque innovator, but a man drunk on his own mythology, blind to the cracks spreading through his empire, and the reckoning they foretold. T6. Yet in the shadows, something shifted. A leaked email from Tesla's legal team, frantic about liability waivers for civil unrest, whispers of a shareholder revolt, and Musk himself, uncharacteristically quiet for 72 hours, his X account silent as a tomb. The storm was here, and somewhere, in the eye of it, a single truth pulsed like a heartbeat. No empire falls from the outside alone. The silence didn't last. It never does with men like Elon Musk. But this time, the noise wasn't a tweet. It was the metallic clang of reality crashing through the gates of his Californian mansion. The call came at 3:17 a.m., Zurich time. Swiss regulators, once allies, in his crypto ventures, had frozen Tesla's European assets over failure to comply with ethical sourcing audits. $500 million gone. Then the SEC subpoena arrived. Then the video. A Tesla factory worker in Berlin, face streaked with soot, sobbing into a camera about safety overrides Musk himself had authorized. He knew, the worker choked out. He knew. For the first time in decades, Musk felt the ground crack beneath him. Not the exhilarating freefall of risk, but the sickening plunge of a man realizing his wings had been clipped. He paced the empty halls of ex-headquarters, screens blaring headlines like artillery fire. Tesla market cap drops below GM. Musk liable for 9B in shareholder lawsuits. Dogecoin collapses to 2 cents. Even his inner circle had evaporated. His board? Silent. His lawyers? Drafting resignation letters. The sycophants who'd laughed at his edgiest jokes. Suddenly, unavailable. Alone in his glass-walled office, Musk stared at the one relic he'd kept from his PayPal days. A framed napkin scrawled with the first rule of the internet, don't feed the trolls. He'd broken that rule, spectacularly. And now the trolls weren't just fed. They'd mutated into something monstrous, hydra-headed, hungry. His finger hovered over a tweet draft, a meme of Wile E. Coyote mid-plunge. But for once, he hesitated. The weight of it all pressed down. The lawsuits, the layoffs, the haunting eyes of that Berlin worker. Then came the voicemail. Mr. Musk? This is Clara from West Oaks Elementary. About your daughter's incident today. A pause. She brought a flamethrower to show and tell. When we asked where she got it, she said, papers rustled. Daddy's friends let him keep fun toys when he's sad. We've suspended her pending a safety review. The phone slipped from his hand. For years, he'd weaponized chaos, turned recklessness into a brand. But this was different. This wasn't a Falcon 9 exploding on the pad. This was his child, 7 years old, learning to weaponize his pain. He sank into his chair, the leather groaning like a living thing, and did something he hadn't done since his first startup failed. He stopped tweeting, stopped scheming, just stared at the bleeding red line of Tesla's stock chart, watching decades of work unravel in real time. Dawn leaked through the blinds when the email arrived. Subject: urgent, whistleblower docs from TTA Tached. Wimes 400 pages of internal Tesla memos. Safety reports doctored. Board minutes referencing acceptable casualty rates for autopilot bugs. And a single highlighted sentence from Musk himself, lifted from a deleted Slack channel. A few burning cars are worth the PR if it keeps us ahead of Toyota. Tesla takedown's watermark splashed across every page. Musk's breath hitched. This wasn't just a hit piece. This was a kill shot. The documents were real. He'd written those words, and TT had timed it perfectly, releasing them the same hour 60 Minutes aired its expose on Tesla's phantom braking cover-ups. His empire wasn't crumbling anymore. It was vaporizing. By noon, Jack's arrest Musk would trend in 18 countries. But here, in the hollowed-out quiet, something stirred. A memory. South Africa, 1989. His father's emerald mine, the air thick with dust and diesel. A teenage Elon watching a foreman kick a worker over spilt coffee. The man's name, Mbali, etched in Musk's mind, because he'd later hired him as a janitor at Zip 2. Because even then, he'd vowed to be better than the tyrants he'd grown up with. Better. The irony tasted like battery acid. He stood abruptly, knees cracking, and yanked open a vault hidden behind a Klimt reproduction. Inside, a prototype Neuralink node, its tendrils glinting like spider silk. A relic from a project shelved for being too speculative, too dangerous. For months, Tesla Takedown had framed him as the villain. What if he leaned into it? What if he became the monster they feared? But on his terms. His thumb brushed the node's cold surface. The plan crystallized with terrifying clarity. A live demo. No handlers, no PR team, just him, a camera, and this unproven tech jammed into his occipital cortex. High risk, catastrophic, but high reward. If he could stream his thoughts raw, no filters, no spin, maybe they'd see, really see, the manic drive behind the memes, the cost of building tomorrow. And if it failed, well, he'd always loved a good explosion. He hesitated, the node's needle hovering over his skull. One push, and there'd be no undo button, no spin, just truth. Outside, a car alarm wailed. Somewhere, a Tesla was burning. He pushed. As the Neuralink node hummed to life in Elon Musk's brain, a strange tingling sensation coursed through his skull. It was as if his thoughts were being unwound, thread by thread, and rewoven into something new. The room around him began to blur, and for a moment, he felt the weightlessness of floating in space. Then, clarity snapped back into focus. He was no longer just Elon Musk. He was a conduit for something greater. The device, still experimental and untested on anyone but a handful of patients, was now transmitting his thoughts directly to the world. 23. The live stream began with a jolt, Musk's face appearing on screens across the globe. His eyes, usually bright with a mix of confidence and mischief, now seemed almost serene. "Today," he started, his voice steady, "I want to show you something that will change everything." With a flicker, his thoughts began to appear as text on the screen behind him. It was raw, unfiltered, and honest. The world watched in awe as Musk's innermost fears and doubts were laid bare. He spoke of his failures, of the times he'd let ambition cloud his judgment, and of the people he'd hurt along the way. But then, something shifted. The narrative turned. Musk began to reveal secrets, documents, emails, and recordings that exposed the true extent of Tesla Takedown's manipulation. It turned out that Tesla Takedown wasn't just a critic. He was a puppet, funded by rival tech companies to discredit Musk and Tesla. The documents showed a trail of money leading back to Silicon Valley's most powerful players, all working to bring down the man who had once been their darling. 5. The revelation was like a tidal wave, crashing down on the world. Tesla Takedown's followers felt betrayed, realizing they'd been used as pawns in a much larger game. The media frenzy was immediate, with headlines screaming about corporate espionage and deceit. Musk's enemies were caught off guard, their schemes exposed to the light. For the first time in months, the narrative began to shift in his favor. As the truth spread, Musk's control began to return, not the control of a tyrant, but the control of a man who had faced his demons and emerged stronger. He spoke of forgiveness, of moving forward, and of using his platform to fight for real change. The Neuralink device, once a symbol of his hubris, had become a tool for redemption. The emotional stakes skyrocketed. People who had once cheered for Tesla Takedown now felt a deep sense of betrayal. They had been misled, used to further the interests of those who cared little for the truth. Musk, on the other hand, had taken a risk that few would have dared. He had exposed himself, laid bare his vulnerabilities, and in doing so, had found a new kind of strength. In the days that followed, Musk's popularity soared, not because he was perfect, but because he was human. Flawed, yes, but willing to confront those flaws head-on. The Neuralink device had done more than just transmit his thoughts. It had connected him with the world on a deeper level. People began to see him not as a superhero or a villain, but as someone who had faced his fears and come out stronger. As for Tesla Takedown, his anonymity was stripped away. He was revealed to be a former tech executive, bitter over being passed, or over for promotions and seeking revenge through sabotage. His followers deserted him, and his name became synonymous with deceit. Musk's comeback was not just about winning, it was about justice. It was about standing up against those who sought to destroy others through lies and manipulation. And as he looked out at the world, now more connected than ever through the Neuralink device, He knew that this was just the beginning. The real battle was not against his critics, but against the systems that allowed them to thrive. He was ready to fight, armed with nothing but the truth and a newfound sense of purpose. As the dust settled on the Neuralink reveal, Elon Musk's gamble began to pay off in ways he never could have imagined. The world watched in awe as he used the technology to expose the truth behind Tesla takedown and the corporate espionage that had fueled the protests. The backlash against Musk's critics was swift and merciless. Tesla takedown's real identity was revealed, and he was exposed as a pawn in a much larger game of corporate sabotage. His followers, realizing they had been duped, turned on him, and his online presence was all but erased. The protests, which had once seemed so powerful, began to dwindle. Without their leader, and without the narrative of a villainous Elon Musk, they lacked direction and purpose. The media, which had once fueled the fire with sensational headlines, now turned its attention to the real story. The manipulation and deceit that had driven the protests from the shadows. As for Musk, he emerged from the ordeal with a newfound sense of purpose. He had faced his demons and come out stronger, his reputation not just intact but enhanced. The Neuralink device, once seen as a symbol of his hubris, had become a tool for truth and transparency. He used it to connect with his followers on a deeper level, sharing his vision for a future where technology served humanity, not just the powerful. The financial impact on Tesla was significant, but not catastrophic. The company's stock rebounded as investors began to see Musk in a new light. He was no longer just a visionary entrepreneur, but a man who had stood up against corruption and deceit. The Tesla takedown movement, once a rallying cry for dissent, became a footnote in history, a reminder of the dangers of misinformation and the power of standing up for what is right. In the end, justice was served not through revenge, but through vindication. Musk didn't need to destroy his enemies. He simply needed to reveal the truth. And in doing so, he found something far more valuable than wealth or power. Respect. The respect of his peers, the admiration of his followers, and the knowledge that he had used his platform to fight for what was right. As the world looked on, a powerful message emerged. That in a world where information is power, the truth is the greatest weapon of all. Musk's story became a beacon of hope for those who felt powerless against the giants of industry and politics. It showed that even in the darkest moments, there is always a way to fight back, to stand up for what is right, and to emerge victorious. In the years that followed, Musk continued to innovate, but with a newfound sense of responsibility. He used his influence to push for greater transparency in business and government, and his legacy became not just about electric cars and space travel, but about the power of truth and justice. The Neuralink device, once a symbol of his ambition, had become a symbol of his redemption, a reminder that even the most flawed among us can find a path to redemption and make a difference in the world. And so, as the curtain closed on this chapter of Elon Musk's life, the world was left with a thought-provoking question. What happens when the most powerful among us use their influence not for personal gain, but for the greater good? The answer, as Musk had shown, was nothing short of revolutionary.